J-Knight, Batrep!
Welcome back to this Dark Potential Battle Report in which two Xylanthos armies are facing off against each other. So now the action will happen in Joel's Xylanthos turn 2. So once again he starts by activating the commander first, who moves up. The thing is about this game is that it requires a lot of terrain, so it can be very difficult to maneuver through. The commander then decides to shoot that squad of 5 soldiers. He has a large blast template, so he needs to roll a 9 to hit and rolls an 8, so he's good. And then has to roll a 5 or less and hits a 5, so kills the center guy. And he doesn't get cover from this blast because of the weapon. And then rolls and needs 3s and rolls 4 dice equal to or less than 3. So the rest of these soldiers all die in one quick swoop. His 3 soldiers then attempt a passive perception check to figure out which of those bases is the assassin. So he first chooses base number 2, fails his perception check, but uses a focus from the commander, who's within distance, to re-roll it, and likely passes his second perception check. And he's also really lucky and guesses correct on the very first try. Basically, he exposes the assassin now who's out in the open, and these soldiers are now going to light him up and probably do a lot of damage to the assassin, who has no armor save. So then they shoot the assassin. They need a 7 to hit, but fail the first one. They then use their command point to re-roll and roll a 6. So they get 1 full strength shot at the assassin. They fail their to wound roll, but they have to force a morale check in which he fails, and then the assassin uses one of his command points to then decrease the amount by 1, bring it down to an 8, and therefore he passes his command check and doesn't have to fall back. Remember, failing your command check is very, very bad because you lose your command points and you don't get to replenish. He then moves up his second squad of soldiers just to get a better shot at that exposed assassin. Once again, then they shoot at the assassin. They need 5s to hit and actually roll a perfect 5. But then he does is he uses a command point of theirs and then 2 of the commander's command points to bring down the amount to a 2, thus giving them several hits instead of just 1 hit at full strength. He needs a 5 to wound and rolls 3 dice less than or equal to 5, thus killing the assassin in 1 fell swoop. It was really, really easy to kill an assassin that's exposed and not in cover. He then moves up his assassins, now that he's killed Darren's assassin, and he decides to separate them, move them in 2 different directions, thus creating, a wide variety of different scenarios that could ensue, and Darren has to do a lot of things then to potentially guard himself against these assassins. So now it's Darren's Xylanthos turn 2. Once again, Darren begins by activating the commander and decides to once again overwatch in the facing of the 2 assassins. Hopefully he's hoping that the assassins will come out and then he will shoot his pie plate of doom onto them and potentially, harm an assassin. Unfortunately, the assassins are multi-wound individuals, so the commander overwatching alone will probably not do the most damage to the assassins. He then decides to move his soldiers a little sideways and then move his assassins towards the other objective to guard it to avoid being double teamed by 2 other assassins. And that was it. It was a very quick turn 2. So here's the battlefield looks like after 2 turns. You can see the commander is there overwatching in the area of the 2 assassins. That 1 squad's there also guarding those 2 objectives in case the assassins pop their heads around the corner. They'll get lit up. And on the other side, you can see the advancing soldiers of Joel's Xylanthos with the commander, and they're about to line up some line of sight and probably light up some dudes as well. So it's going to be a very epic turn 3. So now Joel's Xylanthos turn 3. Let's see what he can do and see if he can destroy any of those objectives. Joel begins by activating his soldier squad, the small one that's near the commander, and he's going to hopefully line up a good shot and shoot at the commander, because there's a rule that if you shoot at anything and you make something take a morale check, they can no longer overwatch. So that's his goal. So he wants to get them into the alleyway, but avoid the overwatch of the commander, and then shoot at the commander like he's doing right now, and then force a morale check. So he takes a shot and misses, so he uses a command point to decrease it to a strength -1 hit. It can't actually wound the commander, but all he wants to do is force that morale check, which he then forces and then takes off the overwatch of the commander. He then activates his 2 assassins and takes them away from stealth, so that now you can see where they are, and they are actually very close together behind the wall. He activates the first assassin and runs up towards the objective. Needs an 11 to hit, and of course hits, and does 2 wounds, ignoring armor. So the first objective is destroyed, and he gets 2 points. He then runs the other assassin at the second objective, hits, needing 11s on 2 dice, or under, and then does, again, 3 wounds, so he instantly kills the other objective, giving another 2 points. So now Darren is essentially playing for a draw. However, Joel lines up his other squad of soldiers at the next objective, needs an 11 or less to hit, rolls a 7, so he gets a bunch of shots off, and he needs 2s or less, and luckily he rolls 2 2s or less, thus killing the third objective and getting him 6 points. So it's a quick handshake, and it is a Joel's Xylanthos victory.